All right. Thank you. Thank you. So good to be here with you guys in Chickasaw County. And do we want to say the Pledge of Allegiance? Why don't we do that? Stand, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, such an honor to be here. Such an honor to be America in Mississippi, the land of the free and the home of the brave. That's what we stand for. And I thank the gentleman for praying and opening up in prayer. That's really what I believe has founded this great nation and what we have stood on. And this is the Bible. I've been carrying this around with me as I speak. I've been in this race. Got into politics about 2 years ago as a medical doctor. When the COVID hit and they locked us down and they pushed all these different government protocols on us, including the shots, the government mandated hospital protocols, I stood up as a medical doctor. I've been a medical doctor for 25 years. And I've been a rural physician, general practitioner, and ER doctor throughout Mississippi. I was born and raised in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Actually born in Meridian, raised in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. My dad was from Tupelo. My mother was from Yazoo City, so I spent a lot of time growing up in Tupelo and Yazoo City. In the last couple decades, I've been in the central Mississippi area, and I've worked in all these little hospitals across Mississippi, and primarily as a general practitioner, but as an ER doctor. And so as a young doctor, I started Mississippi Physician Services, and we staffed these hospital emergency rooms. So I'm very aware of our healthcare system throughout Mississippi and all the problems, what it needs. And I'm also a businessman. I've been a businessman pretty much all my life, entrepreneur. My wife and I currently, we own real estate, and so we're taxpayers. And, I grew up as a patriot. I grew up with Ronald Reagan, my wife and I. And, that was the 80s. I can remember when I was 17 years old in 1983, Ronald Reagan made 1983 the year of the Bible in the United States. Now, that was 40 years ago, and we have fallen far. I'd like to be, if I'm year 2024, I'd like to claim the year 2024 the year of the Bible here in Mississippi. I think we can do that. I think Mississippians want that. I've been saying that everywhere I've gone throughout Mississippi, and I think we can do that, and I think we should, because that's where we should start. We have to start with the basics. We have to go back to 1776. The Declaration of Independence made it very clear. We were basically declaring our independence from Britain. We were under tyranny, just as we are today. We need to declare our independence from the tyranny that we're suffering right now under crooked Joe Biden and all these policies, these radical policies that are being pushed down by a federal government that's out of control, but also by big business that's in cahoots, okay, big pharma, and big organizations. I'll tell you, the American Medical Association and the healthcare industry are friends, okay? You can look them up. All this woke agenda is being pushed on us, not only by radical leftist socialists, but also by the American Medical Association. So as if I'm elected your governor, I'm going to appoint Dr. Peter McCullough. He'll be my Surgeon General here in Mississippi. And from day one, we're going to go and we're going to investigate big pharma, big government, and we're not going to let them ever mandate to close us down, lock us down, close our businesses, close our churches, close our schools, mask us up. Okay, the masks don't work. Okay, it's like throwing dirt against a chain link fence. Okay, the virus is so small it goes through these masks. Now, if you had a mask with these filters on it, we could argue about that. But these paper masks, surgical masks, they don't stop the virus. Okay, so also, we had treatments for COVID early on. Probably many of you guys probably used them. It was hydroxychloroquine in the beginning, vitamin D, vitamin C, all those things, and it worked. I use it. I was the medical director of a little hospital in Yazoo City. I was over the ER and the hospitals program. That's what many of us doctors were using in the hospital right off the bat. And then Trump talked about it, right? He talked about hydroxychloroquine, and next thing you know, everybody's vilifying it. It's on Fox News. They say, oh, you know, if you take hydroxychloroquine, it'll kill you. Won't do it. Hydroxychloroquine is extremely, extremely safe. It's actually called Plaquenil in the trade name, and many folks take that every day of their life all around here. You got some in this room may even take it for rheumatoid arthritis. Very safe medication. So, you know, so that was the first thing. I mean, the mask and the lockdowns, all that, when that went on, you know, I was treating COVID patients. Like I said, it didn't make sense. At first, I didn't know. Nobody knew. But it didn't take us but a few weeks to a month to figure out that none of that made sense, right? And then, of course, when they took the hydroxychloroquine away from us and these vitamins and supplements, and then they pushed remdesivir on us in the hospitals, okay? You know, I don't know if you've heard that, but it's run, death is near, okay? And there's a reason for that. It's a toxic drug. It causes kidney failure. So these we were mandated as physicians in the hospital by our hospital administrators to put all COVID patients on remdesivir. Okay, it was not a good drug. It's a Dr. Fauci drug. So, but it made the hospitals a lot of money. So, you know, that rocked on. I was forced to do that, okay, to keep my job. But finally, after much prayer and research, I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to give patients the right thing. The right thing, as we moved forward, was ivermectin. You know, I'm sure many of you heard of that. The horse dewormer, as our governor allowed it to be called all over Mississippi. Yeah, it's horse dewormer. Veterinarians use it to treat horses, but it's also used to treat the human beings as well. Once again, a very safe drug, and it works for COVID. And so our governor vilified it. Like I said, we made national news, okay? Mississippi became the laughingstock of America because Dr. Thomas Dobbs, our state health officer, went national and said Mississippians are so stupid, they're killing themselves with horse dewormer, which was not true, okay? What happened, a lot of people were calling the toxicology line all over Mississippi, but it's not because they were overdosing, they were asking what dose to take of the horse dewormer, that's all. So he had to correct that story, but of course it never made it to headline news like most stuff do. So, you know, when the vaccines came out, the COVID vaccines, you know, once again, I was the medical director of this hospital. My hospital administrator wanted me to promote the vaccines to all the employees. I said, well, I don't know what's in it. It's mRNA technology. It's brand new, hasn't really been studied. I'm not comfortable with it, but if our employees take it, they need to know they're taking it at their own risk. Nobody's liable. So if they get hurt, there's nobody liable, not even the government. So I wouldn't sign the paper, but you know, the employees took it anyway. And then I started seeing patients that were hurt from these vaccines. Okay, the first patient I saw had Guillain-Barré syndrome. That's a weakness, lower extremity neurological weakness. This was a 50-something-year-old woman, perfectly healthy, and she took one shot of Pfizer, and immediately this happened to her, okay, within hours. All right, and I could go right down the list. So I started seeing this early on, and so, you know, I tried to warn people, I tried to tell people. Of course, I got silenced by our Mississippi State Board of Medical Licensure, okay? They did not like, they basically put out to all the doctors in Mississippi, they sent an email out and said, any doctor that gives out misinformation with vaccines runs the risk of losing their medical license. So that shut most doctors down, but you know, I'm an older doctor. I've been doing this for a while. My kids are grown. I've got 4 grown kids. Actually, 2 of them are doctors. One of them's a dentist. They're grown. They're having kids. Brooke and I were, you know, I just couldn't, you know, I pray I would have done it regardless, but, you know, I'm not in a financial situation that I have to have, honest with you. And so, you know, I said, I just can't do this. You know, I'm not going to go down this route. And so, so then the hospital mandated all of us either get vaccinated or lose your job. So that was the final, that was it. So, you know, came home to Brooke and, you know, we're not getting vaccinated. Many people in the hospitals. I worked for a hospital they have 22 hospitals all over, 11 in Mississippi. I mean, in our hospital, we had over 60% of the employees that didn't want to get vaccinated, okay? And so many of us, doctors, nurses, all sorts of workers. And so we all band together and we started protesting. Our first protest was in Oxford, out in front of the hospital there. Then we went to Tupelo, we went to Columbus, we went down on the coast. And what we found was a lot of people, not in the healthcare industry, but like Ingalls Shipbuilding, for example. 5,000 people down there, they mandated them to get the shot, so we started helping them trying to get exempt. They couldn't. It was a federal mandate, remember? So many of those people had to choose between a shot they didn't want and a job they wanted. And as your governor, I will never allow that to happen, okay? These are our bodies, and if we're not comfortable with a shot that anybody's pushing, whether it be the government, whether it be for free or whatever, then we don't have to take it, okay? That's just, I mean, our bodies are our bodies. That's a freedom we have. It's a freedom of choice. And so that's what we'll do when I bring in Dr. Peter McCullough. We want to investigate all this, okay? Now, I brought about 25 folks to the Capitol, state Capitol, on February 27th, just a few months ago. Dr. Peter McCullough led that. We had a representative, Mr. Representative Randy Boyd from up north Mississippi. He oversaw that hearing. We had testimony from these 25. It was doctors around Mississippi, other places. There were public health officials, scientists, and we had 8 vaccine-injured folks there. 2 of them were parents that had children that died after 1 shot. So you can die from these shots, okay? So we have all that on video. If you go to Epoch Times, they did a very nice write-up. So, but we had a lot of local coverage, even some TV channels, but they cut out all the important parts. Okay, they wouldn't let us talk, or they didn't show anything about the vaccine injuries. Okay, they just said that we were there against the vaccine mandates. Okay, but really we were there to talk about the injuries and deaths because it's happening. And so what we want to do is we want to halt these shots in Mississippi. Period. And we want to start immediately, and then we want to start investigating and be transparent. Anybody that dies after getting a COVID shot should have an autopsy automatically, okay? Other states are doing it. We should do it here in Mississippi. That's the only way we're going to know if you died from the vaccine or not, okay? That's number one. Number two, we want to hold these pharmaceutical companies accountable. That's Moderna and Pfizer that makes these mRNA vaccines, because we found, not just we, but this is all over the nation, they knew that these shots were dangerous. They knew that people were going to be hurt, and they knew people were going to die, but yet they covered all that information up. So that's willful, wrongful misconduct, and we have reached out to our Attorney General Finch. We have all this documented, all this testimony. Not only is it videotaped, but we have it in writing, and we have a lawyer involved. And she's had this information for a month or two now. It's hundreds and hundreds of pages. So we're going to go to her, and we want her to investigate, to have transparency. This can be done on the Consumer Products Division of the Attorney General's office. If a product is not worthy to be pushed or be sold in Mississippi, then it can be taken off the market. And that's where we, at least, okay? All these people that died in the hospital, and there's many of them, okay, that died in the hospital and nursing homes with COVID. And I say with COVID because you don't generally die of COVID. You die with COVID. You usually have to have multiple comorbidities, okay, obesity, diabetes, lung problems, heart problems. That's what the people that died from COVID, and there was over 13,000 of them in the last 3 years, died not so much of or because of COVID. They just had COVID, and all these other medical problems they had, they succumbed to, okay? But the point is, we knew how to treat these patients with ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, vitamins, supplements, blood thinners, steroids, etc. And we were not allowed. Many doctors throughout Mississippi were not allowed, and so we believe as many as 85% of these Mississippians didn't have to die. So that's a lot of people. So we want to investigate, and we want to look into why these patients couldn't receive this medication. I can tell you, after the hospital terminated my contract, once I finally stood up and said, I'm not giving remdesivir anymore, I'm going to give the patient is the best care for them. Well, they terminated my contract. Well, that day, I started treating COVID patients at home. And my goal was to keep them out of going to the hospital. And so some of them I had to put on oxygen. Some of them I treated in my own house. But the point is, I figured out real quick that not only do these medicines work, they work very, very well. Even if you give them late to patients, even if they have multiple comorbidities, people can survive if given the right treatment. So, so I'm upset. I mean, it's hard. You know, my deal as a doctor is to do no harm. I'm there to take care of patients first and protect them. We lost many, many patients. They're suffering. They've been disabled, injured, and died throughout Mississippi, and they didn't have to. So that's the main reason I got in the race for these patients. And that's what I'm going to be here for. Not only for in the healthcare field, but, you know, like I said, I have children, grandchildren, and, you know, I've been a patriot all my life. I love God. I love our country. You know, Brooke and I, we serve at the First Baptist Church in Fannin. I'm a deacon. She's a Sunday school teacher. We're missionaries. We go to Honduras every year on a missionary trip to spread the gospel, Jesus Christ, and also to do medical missions. And that's just what we do. You know, we're like most of you guys, down-to-earth people. And, you know, we want, you know, we know Tate Reeves. I mean, Tate Reeves, he lived in our neighborhood. We voted for him. We campaigned for him. But listen, when COVID hit, we tried I did and other people, we tried everything we could to get his attention. You know, he could have stood up quicker, okay? He just would not put his foot down. He deferred all things COVID to Dr. Thomas Dobbs. And you know, I don't know if you know Dr. Thomas Dobbs, but he's not one of us. Okay, I'll just put it that way. He doesn't believe in freedom. He believes in draconian measures. He's the one that wanted to lock everybody down and make it illegal if you left your house, that you would be arrested. Okay, so we believe in God. We believe in children. I'm pro-life. I'm all about the Constitution. And all that's being taken from us. Our freedom of speech, we see over the last 3 years, I mean, if you speak anything different than the government narrative, they'll shut you down. And this is not just in the community, this is social media. Okay, if you, there's no, our freedom of religion is being taken away. Right now, if you don't line up with the woke culture, I mean, if you don't fly the rainbow flag, I mean, I don't know if y'all know, but it was just flying at our Capitol. I mean, I love everybody, okay? I love everybody, I really do. I think we're all created by God in His image, and that but, you know, I also believe in right and wrong, and I believe in family. I believe that God meant for man and woman to be together, to procreate, to go out there and subdue the earth. And we're living in a time now, you know, it's kind of like what Billy Graham said years ago. If we allow America to continue on this track, God would have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, that's the depravity that we're going to. When doctors tell you there's no such thing as a man or a woman, there's no difference. You can't. They want the American Medical Association. When a person is born, you can't put male or female on the birth certificate now. That's insanity, okay? The CDC just came out yesterday with a report describing how men can chest feed their baby, okay? This is child abuse as far as I'm concerned. A man that puts on fake boobs and puts milk in there and breastfeeds a baby. This is insanity. And so we can stand up to all this, and we should. Okay, like I said, I love everybody, but the truth is the truth. I believe, you know, our great country is blessed because of good men and women that, you know, wrote the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. We have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to protest, okay? Peacefully protest is in the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, okay? To give a grievance to your government. And, you know, I don't, you know, I don't know how you feel about the presidential election of 2020. You know, some people say it was stolen, but I think we can at least agree there was cheating involved, okay? I think we can all agree with that. And we've got to have fair elections in America or we're doomed. And as far as protesting, peaceful protesting is part of being an American. Okay, now I'm not saying everything they did on January 6th in Washington was peaceful. Okay, those people got pushed up. I think there was a lot there that you could talk about. But the point is, you know, people, they have a justice system for the other side and a justice system for us. If the other side can loot, raid, and protest, pull down statues, burn down buildings, throw bricks, and none of them even go to jail, and the other side, you know, gets thrown into jail, locked down into prison, and has no ability to have a fair trial, then we have a problem. We have to stand up as patriots, as God-loving people, as people that love our family, our country, and it's time for we the people to come together, and we've got to take over government. It's just, you know, that's just the bottom line. We've got to take these politicians that have been there for a long time, some of them right here in Mississippi, and, you know, we've got to replace them with folks that believe in freedom, that believe that we're losing our freedoms because that's where we are, you know. I mean, even gun rights. I mean, you know, guns, you know, I have guns. You know, I'm not one of these that tote them and flip them or whatever, but I can. But, you know, the point is, they're not just for hunting. If you look at our Constitution, they're there for protection. And so, you know, and privacy, that's another big thing. We're losing our privacy, all right? And they want to take our property. Of course, you know, they want us, by the year 2030, they want us to own nothing and be happy. That's not the American way. That's not the American dream, okay? You know, I grew up with the American dream. You know, my father was a school teacher, okay? Like I said, he was from Tupelo. He was also a lay minister. You know, he was a great man. I learned a lot from him. He always was reading the Bible, studying. And, you know, he had one good arm and one good leg. He got hit by a car when he was 5, and he never let that stop him, okay? Now, we went through some hard times growing up, and we even had to get on welfare there for a little while on food stamps, okay? And my parents had to file bankruptcy. And I can remember that as about a 10-year-old. You know, I can remember them coming, taking our little Ford Escort back and repoing it, okay? And that stuck in my mind. And my mother was a homemaker. My mother's still alive today. She's 83. Now, she had a physical handicap too. She was born premature in 1939, so she's legally blind from birth, can't hear very well, and has a little cerebral palsy. She's 84 now. You can't really tell it because she's always shuffled a little bit. Now she has a walker, and so she's just normal, but her mind's always been very sharp. And so, so they raised 3 children. I have a younger brother. He's kind of like my son. My parents were 42, and they had another child. My sister and I were teenagers. I was 15, she was 17, and so we have a younger brother. He's in his 40s now, and he has 3 children. So he's kind of like one of my sons. My dad died when he was 21, so I helped get him on through college and grown. And now he has 3 little kids like mine. So I helped raise him. So, you know, I come from we the people, just an average home. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I worked hard. You know, I felt like with hard work and integrity, a commitment to excellence, you know, I could do something with my life. And, you know, I went off to college. I went to junior college. I wasn't the best high school student. My high school counselor said I need a backup plan when I told her I wanted to be a doctor. And so I started studying math in junior college, and figured out I was pretty good. I made A's in math, and so I went all the way through calculus 1, 2, 3, 4, linear algebra, all that stuff, straight A's. So I declared to be an engineer. And so I went to Mississippi State and was doing electrical engineering. Then I transferred to Pensacola and co-op down there, and I finished. And I was an electrical engineer for several years before I was a doctor. And so I know about contracts, I know about big business, I know about, you know, multi-million-dollar setups. And so, and then I went back to medical school. I already had a child. I had 2 children while I was in medical school. And so those 2 children today are both doctors. They're in Jackson. They're almost done. They're both married, and they have children. And so, and my oldest son is a dentist, and he's in Florida, and he's got 2 sons. So our family's growing, and then we have a stepson he's a mechanical engineer, and he's studying to be a PhD, and he's in Arizona. So we're proud of our family. We want all kids to be able to rise and do well. And not everybody has to go to college. Brooke, she didn't finish college all the way, but she's a real estate agent. Okay, you don't have to go to college to be successful. You know, we need electricians, we need painters, we need welders, we need policemen. You know, that's something we really want to do early. These kids that are early, I mean, even junior high, let's get them. You know, if they don't want to go to college, I mean, reading is important, but you know, real life work and doing something you enjoy is more important in a lot of ways. And so let's get these kids, instead of losing them and letting them fall through the cracks and get out on the street and get involved in drugs and whatever else, unwed pregnancies and all that. Let's get them involved in something they enjoy doing, whether it's welding or painting, construction, mechanic work, whatever. And let's pull them through these technical schools, and we can make Mississippi really a great state. We really can. We're the hospitality. We may be below average in maybe our income levels, but we're givers. We give more per capita of our dollars than anybody. We have good hearts in Mississippi. We love God first. We love one another, and we even love our enemies, or we try to. And and these politicians up there in Jackson that keep dividing us over race, all this stuff, sexual orientation. Listen, we love everybody. We just want to we want people to be healthy. You know, lifestyles that that studies show that people that are married, kids that do right by others, they're much healthier folks. They live longer. They live happier, healthier, and that's what we want for Mississippi. We want to talk straight with the people. We don't want to. I'm not going to get in a battle with the mayor of Jackson over race. Okay, I'm just going to shut him down when that comes up. I'm going to say, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about fixing your water problem. Okay, let's see some reports let's see some engineering reports on some folks. Where are the problems? Okay, and we're here, and we're going to go down the list and check off and try to figure out what's this going to cost and what's the plan of doing it. Okay, we're not going to be squabbling all day over race. So I'm a no nonsense kind of guy. I believe in you define the problem and you get to the solution. So that's what I am. And so I'm going to just open it up for questions. We could talk about a lot of things. We could talk about crime. There's a lot of crime throughout the state, certainly in our capital, but all over. I mean, I've been in all these little towns, and I can tell you there's a lot of people shooting each other around. And it's usually drug deals gone bad, or it involves some domestic violence case, or both. And it's a particular group of people. It's just a fact. And so we have to get out there, and we have to, I'll be tough on crime. We'll never defund the police. And like I said, we've been going all over the state. It's hard to find police officers, law enforcement. Nobody wants to be a police officer. Wonder why? They get no respect. They could end up in jail for just, saying the wrong thing to a person when they pull them over. So we're going to stand behind the police. We're going to start training them early, like I said, in high school and junior high, to get them to go that route. And so we could talk about infrastructure. We could talk about the potholes in Mississippi. We could talk about the water problems in our state capital. We could talk about the garbage pickup. Our state capital, we've got to clean up our Jackson, the capital. We've got to make some kind of progress there. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but, it's our capital. And so we've got to make some improvements there and work together. Taxes, I'm a conservative. I believe in limited government, lower taxes, eliminating government corruption. We have a lot of overhead in our state, a lot of administrative overhead, in all areas. And so we need to take a hard look at our public educational system, our healthcare system, our public safety, the whole works. Okay, it's very top heavy. Okay, and we want to see where we can eliminate some of those big administrative superintendent type jobs. Maybe combine some efforts. Quit contracting out to these high dollar folks to get trained. We can combine some services there, and so we're going to work on that from day one. Um, let's see some of the other things. Jobs, yeah, we need more jobs, and we need higher paying jobs. And the way we do that, we get rid of crime. Nobody wants to go live in a war zone. Nobody wants to live where there's crime. So we can we got to work on crime and education. We got to have good schools, and and it should, the quality of your education should depend on your zip code. If a child wants to learn and he wants to, further his education, whether it be on the technical route or going to college, we need to help them make it happen. And, we can do that. We have charter school system now, but I can tell you, I've looked into it a little bit. It's not doing too well. Okay, there's not very many chartered schools, and we need to look at that whole situation. We need to look at possibly letting the money follow the child and give them a choice. So a lot of areas there to talk about. We certainly want parents to have rights in the school system. Okay, there's groups of parents all over Mississippi we've met. They want to be, and they should be. Education is about the student, the teacher, and the parent. That's where you focus on. Okay, you can have all these fancy programs you want in the world, but if you don't include the actual people in the situation, then you're not going to make improvements. And that's the same way with healthcare, by the way. And we can talk about Medicaid expansion and just throwing money into the system to make it build or big it up. But when government gets involved, there's so much red tape and regulations. Most of the time, the money never makes it down to the person. And so we're going to look at that and, work out ways where people on the ground level, they have a relationship with their doctor, their primary care doctor, one-on-one. And assign them to that primary care doctor and make sure that their services get paid for. We can do that. And, they don't need to be using the emergency room, for example, when they don't have an emergency. That is a huge problem in Mississippi and all across America. Most emergency room visits, probably 80% of them are non-emergency. Okay? So we can work on that area. There's lots of things we can do to help. Once again, we've got to decrease the expenditure and increase our services and taxes. I know no state income tax is a big thing. Now, I'd love to do that. I mean, that's what Florida has. That's what Tennessee has. That's what Texas has. Now, we have to be careful when we do it because we don't want our property taxes to go up. If we eliminate our income tax, our property taxes might shoot through the roof, like Florida, for example. Now, Tennessee has a good system. They have a system where not only do they not have any income tax, but their property taxes are low. So you have to know how to set those laws up and structure them such that we won't get caught in that trap. But it is an issue we need to look at. And you say, how could we do that? Well, we'd have to look at it because, about at least $2.5 billion comes in from income tax. Okay, that's about 30-something% of our total income. About $7-8 billion a year that comes in for that. So we'd have to for that. So there's a lot of things in it, we could talk about, but I'm going to open it up for questions and just like to answer any questions you guys have, and then we'll close. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll look at that. I agree. I mean, we've got to look at a lot of these areas, um, so many things on these local levels. You know, I don't know how your particular jail operates. I don't know if is it county owned, regional jail owned by the regional county or yeah, like a okay with MDOC, and so MDOC pays $20 a day to the mm, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. And then people that don't pay their garbage bills, well, I mean, I believe in personal responsibility. That's a conservative way. I mean, if you don't pay your bills, you know, if you don't eat, if you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't pay your garbage bill, then yeah, I mean, maybe you don't need to be living there. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess one of the biggest things on corruption, probably everybody's heard about, is the TANF. Okay, that's the money that was supposed to go to the poor folks, and it went to all the celebrities. There, we think it's going to be either 77 million or it could be 150 million that was basically embezzled from our governors, you know, government people. Now, you know, our current governor says he doesn't know anything about it. You know, this happened when he was lieutenant governor, and Phil Bryant was the governor. But you know, this is a black eye for Mississippi. I mean, we need to investigate it. Okay, all it needs to be transparent. You know, our current governor, he actually fired the lawyer that was the independent investigator. Fired him last year, about this time last year, and I don't, I don't know what they're doing with it now. I mean, but I think as Mississippians, I think we deserve to know what's happened to all this money, and get to the bottom of it. So that's one thing. But yeah, as far as education goes, so I don't know if y'all have seen, but the Mississippi Miracle. That's something Tate Reeves has been, and a lot of people have been talking about the Mississippi Miracle. You know, we've had these good fourth grade reading scores, and you know, but yesterday it just came out national that you know these numbers were not actually correct. They took the numbers and they fudged them around, and it made it look like our scores went up. But if you actually look at everything, our scores didn't go up. The national average kind of went down, and we pretty much our percentages actually dropped a little bit. And then when it came to they said that we have our graduation rate went up. I think it was up to 88% from 70 something percent several years ago. Problem with that is they eliminated the tests you need to graduate. Okay, so yeah, it made it easier to graduate, and not only that, they what else was it they did? They made the oh, you can't make a zero. Did you know you can't make a zero in class anymore in Mississippi? The lowest you can make is a 55. So some of these people are showing up the first day, take a test, maybe make 100 or whatever, then they don't go back to class anymore, get all zeros. They make a 55, get an F, they go along. They passed. So teachers can't give less than a 55. So these kind of things, when you play with the numbers, yeah, I guess you can show any results. So, you know, we want to, you know, we met with someone that's very knowledgeable in the educational industry. He's been around for decades, and he opened our eyes to a lot of things. Okay, that's what when I mentioned earlier about it's very top heavy. Their superintendents around the states, they make a lot of money, 300,000. There's some districts I hadn't verified this, but there's actually no students and they're making a six-figure income. I mean, how is that? And then there's these contract companies that come in and charge like $2,000 a day to train these executives on how to manage and work these programs, and they all have these big elaborate meetings, all expenses paid. You know, I mean, as a doctor, you know, I have to pay for if I'm in a particular organization or whatever, if I go on a trip, that has to come out of my pocket. But evidently in the educational industry, they can all that's free. If you're an executive, you can go on these trips and these meetings, and you charge it to the school district. So, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're paying for it. Yeah, that's right. So, a lot of ways we want to look at. We want to look at it for sure. Yes, ma'am. Won't you come up, Brooke? This would be the first lady. I wouldn't even think about running without her.
Don't go too far. I need that mic. Well, you don't have to take it off. That was fine. I just wanted to let you know how much we appreciate your time. There's a lot of things you could be doing on a Thursday night, but you're here and you're investing your time learning about your options, and that means an awful lot, and we appreciate that greatly. I want you to know that your vote really matters. It really does. There have been times when I thought, well, I don't care what everybody says, I'm going to vote this way, even though they say it's not going to happen. And it would happen. So we're in a very unique situation right now. Don't listen to people say, well, I don't know. The good Lord has his plans. And one thing I would ask you, if you liked this platform, this stand, I can tell you this man he's uncompromisable. He is a man that would rather lay down his life than do the wrong thing to offend God. And that's the kind of people we need in office. He is the kind of man that puts the patients above the prophets. And he would put the citizens above government mandates and, all the, as they say, with the shekels come the shackles. He's not going to let us get in shackles over money. Freedom matters. But that being said, if you like what he has to say and the way that you feel like he could represent you, then we need you to let people know. And I've passed out some push cards. We've got a lot of those, and we can give you those if you will take those, put your Christmas list out, and write them to people that are in Mississippi that can vote. That would make a huge impact, because they would say, well, if Joan has checked it out, I think I can do that. They need to know when to go. It's sneaking up on people. It's August 8th. It's right on our heels, and we're running around the state. We're up in Houston. We're down on the coast. We're in Meridian. We're just all over the place talking, but we're just able to talk to a few. We are also doing billboards. We're doing some radio advertising. We're doing mail-outs. We're doing a little bit of TV possibly. We're getting the message out, but we need individuals to care enough to share about this information, because businesses died in Mississippi during that lockdown. Human beings died in Mississippi because they were denied care. And if we think they're done, we don't know what they've got planned, but I think all of us in this room know they're not done. And we need to be prepared with someone who has the backbone, the courage of his convictions to actually get it done. This man right here, since we got a captive audience, I'll tell one more quick little story. When 9/11 happened, he was a doctor with children, and he went to sign up in the military to be a military doctor. And they said, you're too old. Go home. So he went home, he got in his car, and he drove to New York City. And he stayed in New York City for months, taking care of people for free. He came home for Christmas, and he got right back in his car, and he drove back up there. And he ministered to people, he witnessed to people, and he prayed with people, and he did what doctors do, what good doctors do. And it wasn't about the money. It was about uniting people and caring for people in a time of crisis in our country. We find ourselves in a time of crisis right now. And this is serious. We've got a lot going on. And good people need to wake up and get involved and take part in the process. So with that, witcherforgovernor.com is the website. Witcher for Governor on Facebook, and I think we've got an Instagram and Twitter, but most of our engagement is on Facebook. We need you to share up the events, tell your friends and help us to get across the finish line, because we really need you. And we just, ask blessings on all of your families from the good Lord above, because we really need to remember who put us in this country and who gave us our rights, and stand up and defend them because they're under attack.
All right, I guess we'll close, and I just appreciate everybody being here. Yes, ma'am.
We're both retired, and we have some real property. Over the last few years, we experienced increase in our rental insurance, also insurance in general. Does the government have anything to do in regulating stuff, keeping from jumping?
Well, that's we own rental properties as well. We've seen that too. So I think that's going to be a tough one. The property values have gone way up, so I guess the insurance rates are going up. What I've been told was you said insurance, right, or tax insurance? Yeah, I've been told because of all the hailstorms around here, that's why our insurance is going so up so quickly on that. But yeah.
We have one house that we got a real good deal on, but they insured that they drew the line on the insurance, and I can remember back when you could go with, if you were financing, you could go with what amount you wanted on it.
Yeah.
They gave us a $200,000 rebate on that house, and we didn't give anywhere near that.
Yeah. So I guess you could lower your the amount of coverage and get some, but yeah.
I think we checked the it really jumped this past year.
Yeah. Yeah, insurance is it's Brooke used to sell insurance. It's not a good. It's not fun. You got to have it, but it's like you can go broke buying it. Yes. All right. Thank y'all. Appreciate everybody being here.